Look at us now, tip to
Ooh, Jesus.
Shout out to Morning Kombat.
Do you want a margarita? Yes! My God!
to us, doing what we love. It's time to bang. Oh, yeah, let's go. It's Friday. You ain't got shit to do. Morning Kombat directly in your face hole here, September 5th, 2025. Hey, it's my dad's 70th birthday. How are you out there? Brian Campbell, live and direct from the, thank you very much, from the Hartford, Connecticut suburbs. We did have a couple minute late start, but the toilets have been flushed. All has been cleaned up. And I'm not talking about ass this time. I'm talking about IT issues, but we do have him with us from Washington, D.C. It's Luke Thomas. Luke, how are you, bro?
I'm well. I apologize for the delay. We potted up my computer, and we immediately had issues once we all logged into our system here. So I had to switch everything. I'm on my laptop,
Yes.
which I'm hoping will do the trick. You know what I found, BC? The laptop is a Mac. The normal computer that I use is a PC, and I have found that PCs are much more difficult to maintain than Macs. So,
Interesting.
you know,
All
sorry.
you tech bros out there, listen up. Luke logged in, and then he did hit the restroom legally, officially, and logged off, I'm sure. But he's here. We're back. We're ready to rock and roll. It's UFC Paris weekend, so let's get fired up today. But before we get into everything going on, a reminder to like, subscribe. Shout out to everybody watching on the DraftKings Network. All you audio only fools, we hear you too. You can also subscribe to our extended YouTube channels in our MK community. And a general reminder that today's episode of Morning Kombat is presented by DraftKings, and with DraftKings, the crown is yours, folks. That's what I'm talking about. We also want to tell you about our September merch. It's live and direct, the exclusives over there at morningkombat.shop. Whether you like the Black Liver Society created by Average Joe Art in t-shirt or hoodie, or the Luke Thomas MK Cracker Barrel design, or how about that autographed TMNT, BC, and LT poster? Get your exclusives while they last this month at morningkombat.shop. And do not forget, we have evergreen content that's being added constantly on the site. Mix and match the colors. It's all good because it's all hood. Morning Kombat style. There you go, right there. I'd like to also introduce you to the third member of our team, a producer, director, bong enthusiast, and a podcaster in his own right at the Main Card Minute. Good Lord, we are happy there was once a horned up Australian man so he could be here. It's Luke Nocita of Long Island fame. Yes.
What's up, boys? How we doing? I got a new episode of Prop Quiz dropping just after MK today, 1:30. Oscar Willis taking on Dennis from Submission Radio. Banger matchup. Tune in for that. Looking forward to everyone checking it out.
Very good stuff right there. Long Island, look, you excited for UFC Paris, bro?
Yeah, but we did lose the Pitbull Kata fight overnight. Kata missed weight and Pitbull did not accept it. So I understand why he didn't. But yeah, I'm a little bummed at that. That was definitely like number 3 on the card for me. But I'll be doing a full card watch along for Paris. So you know I'm hyped for it. 12 noon.
All right. I'm hyped. I'm ready to go. That's the tomorrow afternoon opportunity. LT, what's going on in your life right now? As Zoe's butthole makes the rounds here on the screen.
I have had an insane week here, but mercifully, my wife gets home from her business trip tomorrow. Thank you, Jesus. And I'll be doing, I don't know, I'm not doing a full card watch along, but I'll be doing partly a watch along for the main card and then a post fight show for UFC Paris over on Da Personal channel.
Wonderful. Also, there's a UFC press conference going on right now with Cyril Gahn and Tom Aspinall. We'll have Long Island Luke updating us if anything crazy happens in that. I doubt it, but we're here just in case. LT, you have had help from Abuela, excuse me. Let me put some respect on her name. Is she also ready to just hand off the monster or what?
Yeah, I think so. I think she's pretty tired too. Tukey is a handful, you know. I don't know how the people who are single parents who have like multiple children do it. It is quite a task.
Indeed. But we love Tukey. Fantastic stuff right there. We might as well get into the damn show here. We started a little bit late, We're going to be talking some Canelo Crawford as we're just a week out. We're going to hit some latest news and close the show, of course, with Dead Wrong and fan subs. But for now, it's time for topic number one. This Saturday's UFC Fight Night in Paris is a very good card, even with the loss of Patricio Pitbull and the newcomer Kaita. The main event is what we're focused on here in the middleweight division. Nasruddin Imavov versus Caio Borralho. And considering UFC CEO Dana White has already laid out the parameters to determine the next challenger for the newly minted middleweight champion Khamzat Chimaev, it'll be whoever looks better in either this main event on Saturday or, of course, the October 14th Renier de Ridder Fluffy Hernandez main event. So Imavov Borralho, a very much a playoff feel to it this weekend, and also an evenly matched fight between two contenders. Luke, when you match up these two, their skill sets against one another, what do you believe is the biggest thing that separates them entering this must-win fight for a shot at the middleweight crown?
Wow. You know what? I was trying to see through tape study in preparation for today's show and how to answer this question specifically. And to be clear, they have different competencies, right? Borralho, to me, a little bit better, actually, a lot better on the ground. Although against higher level opposition, it's not clear what his appetite for it is, or it's not exactly clear how well the ground game would translate up against the elite. Like, to what extent is it as deadly there? Like, for example, Charles Oliveira, his ground game has limits, but it does extend to the elite. We don't really know that about Borralho, but he does have, considerable skills there. Recall he had a match with Brendan Allen in Karate Combat, a grappling match, which he won, and Brendan Allen is certainly no slouch on the ground. Obviously, though, Nasruddin Imavov fought Brendan Allen, and then beat him straight up in a 3-round contest. I'm going to say that the differences are real, but to an extent, somewhat slight. They opposite stance. In Borralho, you have a left-hander. In Imavov, you have a right-hander. I'm going to say that of the two, I think Imavov, faster hands, better combination work with Imavov. And I think the data reflects that to an extent, BC. Strikes landed per minute for Imavov, 4.45. Strikes absorbed, 3.26, in part because he stands a little bit more in the line of fire. Borralho, not as active, 3.61 landed, 2.3 absorbed. He doesn't take as much damage. In fact, you'll notice Borralho does a real good job of rolling with punches. It's something that actually is something that's pretty effective, although you saw in the fight with Cannonier, he was able to get through with his own left hook to a degree, which is why that eye was all jacked up. I think the thing that stands out for me, BC, is really it's going to be to what extent can Borralho force pressure on a guy like Imavov. If Imavov can stand and box at range, I think in general, not always, and perhaps, there's some differences there too in terms of what Borralho could do, but I'm going to say in general that, again, just think about it logically. What is going to be Imavov's best path to victory? It's probably going to be him leading, standing at range, right? Pressing to a degree, and then finding that boxing range. He's got very quick, accurate punching. You saw him use that against Izzy. You've seen him use it against many, many guys. However, there's a couple of things that have come to light. One, his takedown defense is better than people realize. I know Allen was able to get him down and hold him down the whole first round, but then whiffed on everything else thereafter and went 1 for 10 on takedowns. The interesting part to me, BC, is what you saw in the Dolidze fight was that Imavov had a hard time kind of fence wrestling, or at a bare minimum, I'm going to say it this way, getting his offense going when pressed against the fence, meaning you have enough defensive awareness to separate and then potentially launch your own offense. That has been something of a difficult spot for him. He got around that in the Cannonier fight because he was able to land better punches. The question is against a guy who's much younger, fresher in theory in Borralho. Can he do that? So to me, the real core questions are, to what extent can Borralho press? To what extent can he mix up his offense? It doesn't have to be one or the other, but to the extent can he mix up his offense? And to what extent can he tire out and drain Imavov as the fight goes on through some combination of that pressing, which never lets Imavov get his offense going and never really lets him get into that second kind of gear. But to the extent that he cannot do those things, you can imagine there's a number of scenarios where I think Imavov can shine. So it's not a huge difference, and I think the odds reflect that. but there are some core differences there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Borralho a little bit more well-rounded. Can he bring the threat of that ground game, or even use some of that to tire out Imavov? But they are so even across the board. Even if you look at their stats, they have the exact same reach length on their arms and their legs, and the only difference in height is 2 inches taller for the 6'3" Nasruddin Imavov. As we look at the DraftKings odds at the moment, you nailed it, Luke. It's almost a 50-50 here. Imavov a plus 110 underdog to the minus 130 Kyle Borralho. Both are red hot coming in. Nasruddin Imavov has won 4 in a row, 2 of those being, big breakthrough opportunities in his last 2 fights. A finish with a counter right hand of Israel Adesanya, a decision win over a streaking Brendan Allen. In fact, he's fought twice, those 2 fights, since Borralho even last fought 1 year ago. But Borralho in general, 17-1 as a pro. He's won all 7 UFC fights. He won his 2 Dana White Contender Series appearances, including a finish leading up to that. We are talking about 2 guys who did get on the scales this morning to make weight. They look ripped as heck. They are ready to go with so much freaking at stake here. Luke, before we get into some sound and a little bit of the back and forth, I did want to ask you just in general here of this playoff setting that we have. Do you think it'll be enough to just win, to just survive in advance, to potentially get the title shot? Or do you believe, maybe sort of like when Dana puts an interim title on fights that don't necessarily need it, but yet it ramps up the energy? Look at UFC 236, the main and co-main event that night in Atlanta, a legendary night. Do you believe that, knowing the stakes here, we're going to see both of these guys fight a little bit more aggressive than normal? And do you think they'll need to get that call?
I think there's a chance you might see Borralho fight a little bit more aggressive than usual, because I think he maybe not than usual, but depending on which fight you're talking about. But I do think he's going to need to fight aggressively, again, tactically and strategically, but with his foot on the gas a little bit, no matter what. I just think that's good. It's hard for me to see how he can win without really doing something like that. To be on the back foot, again, at times I'm sure he will be, but as a general posture, I just don't really see that as a method to success. I think someone like Imavov, I know he has faded down the stretch in certain cases, but at the same time, I think to an extent he's repaired that. And he is a little bit more bend, don't break. For example, that Brendan Allen fight, he got taken down and held down basically the entire first round, but then came back and had a much better sense of distancing and what his weapons needed to be and what his defense needed to be, and then took the next 2 rounds and then ultimately wins, in a pretty convincing way. So to me, that's, I think, the general kind of ebb and flow of what we're likely to expect. I guess if some of that gets messed up, then, the results can go a few different ways. What I'm going to say, though, about answer to the first question is winning enough? Winning is a necessary condition, but it's not a sufficient one. It's necessary that you win. If you don't win, we're not even in the conversation. But just because you win, as we know, it's not really by itself enough. Now, winning in front of his Paris crowd in the main event could lift Imavov's kind of stature to a degree, sure, right? To the extent that he becomes a relevant factor. But at the same time, imagine a fight between RDR and Fluffy, which I know they're headlining that Vancouver card. But like, even if that fight is very even itself, if it's like extra exciting, that could make a difference. Or again, to what extent do they see? I know we're not selling pay-per-views anymore by the time that these, but by the time the next title is up for grabs, but what kind of calculation are they looking for? Where does that fit in their international calendar? All of these factors are going to be weighed here, and it's just really hard to know what's going to win out. So the task is the same in any case. You have to win, and to the extent you can, win convincingly, and then the rest of it is just kind of out of their hands a little bit.
Imavov, born in Dagestan, obviously fighting out of and representing France, will have that home court advantage there. We know how much those Paris crowds can bring it, which is going to fuel even more buzz and intensity in the arena. And of course, Borralho, the founder of Fighting Nerds, maybe the most red hot team in the game right now, and a very underrated game planner. But in terms of the heat check between them, they've largely been professional. If it has been spicy at all, it seems to be one-sided. Now, Borralho did say that he felt Imavov was ducking him when Imavov turned down an opportunity to fight him earlier this year, and also when Imavov turned down an opportunity to be the backup for the most recent middleweight title fight, which Borralho ended up taking. Borralho also did say that he doesn't necessarily feel like Imavov is a real Dagestani. And I think that's the only thing that has really caused a little bit of this one-sided beef, where Nasruddin believes it is very personal. And he's kind of taken it to the level where I believe it's fair that we bring in our friends at Cuervo for a little shots fired. And of course, Shots Fired is brought to you by Cuervo. Now is a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. I don't know if you guys have been following Imavov's Twitter account over there on X, but he's been putting out these trailers and skits. Here's his latest, focusing on the disrespect he feels that he has received from Borralho.
Imavov. But this guy is a He's not Dagestani. Dagestan is shame of you. Have shame on you.
Alô? Achei esse frango do Caio pra mim.
Ok.
Ah, mano, tu conhece o Caio?
Mano, não conheço nenhum Caio não, mano.
Caio, você conhece o Caio?
Caio? Que Caio? Caio é o caralho, mete o pé. Ninguém conhece Caio aqui não, meu irmão.
Então, Caio, tu é Caio? Tu conhece o Caio?
Caio? O Caio que eu conheço é esse aqui, ó. Ele tá no OnlyFans.
Que isso, Caio? Tô gostando, né?
Quand t'auras fini tes trucs de maquillage et d'OnlyFans, on réglera ça. Comment on dit en portugais?
So you got a little bit of heat there, Luke. What do you make of this with this Brazil versus France rivalry, which will be in the main event and co-main event? And a lot of people have been comparing it to the soccer World Cup rivalry.
Have a lot of people been doing that?
Online, not in my circles, Luke. Okay.
I think they're trying to build a little heat wherever they can. The reality is they're kind of up against it a little bit, right? I mean, I'm sure that France is an important market for the UFC, but it's probably not its most important market. And this fight is taking place there in the afternoon on a non-numbered card. Now, it's the same for Fluffy and RDR, but I'm just pointing out that like there are different ways in which the stakes and the settings interplay, and this is one where, you know, the most amount of buzz they can generate, obviously we know the game, they're going to be able to do that, or the most amount they can generate, the more valuable it can be. And I just think we're at a place where they're trying to, you know, put together something that they can, or at least, you know, Imavov is trying to just generate the kind of attention that he can to promote this fight. And good on him. That's actually a pretty good reel, if I do say so myself. But I don't think it's much more than that. I don't know if there's really genuinely bad blood between them. It's just, this is a highly, highly important fight in both of their careers, and they're trying to, you know, get any edge that they can.
Well, they've both said opposite about whether this fight is personal, and we do have video of that, Long Island Luke. If you can go down to item D here, let's listen in.
No personal, just business. Just two of the best guys in the world facing each other to see who goes for the belt.
C'est trop tard, bien sûr, c'est personnel. Vous allez attendre un Nasruddin détendu, avec beaucoup d'expérience, posé, et qui va aller chercher le finish. Je vais tout faire pour finir ce gars-là avant la limite. Il joue juste un rôle, il est pas si serein que ça. Il a besoin de montrer qu'il est serein, mais il est pas serein. Je sais reconnaître une personne qui a des doutes.
A little bit back and forth there. Luke, let's talk about some of the brass tacks on the even deeper comparison between them. I believe there's an argument to be made, even though his winning streak of 4 is not on the level here of the extended win streak of Borralho, who just has the 1 defeat in his second pro fight. I believe Imavov's beaten better competition of late. He's also been extremely active. I mentioned his last 2 wins, arguably the 2 biggest of his career, came since Borralho last appeared, when he defeated Jared Cannonier last summer. But he defeated Jared Cannonier by decision last summer, 2 months after Imavov rallied to stop Cannonier while down on the scorecards in a 5-round main event. How much do you believe it will be a factor if we could give both the competition and the current form advantage, and then you add in that home field advantage to Imavov?
See, that's the part about Imavov. I mean, if you watch those fights, there's a bit of a problem where, for example, Cannonier gets rocked in the third, and he did not deserve to get stopped there. And he actually kind of rallied a little bit in the fourth, but then he got beaten up real bad in the fifth. And a lesser referee might have stopped it. It's possible. And in fact, what you could argue is, yes, Imavov had Cannonier on skates in their fights. I mean, he was definitely hurt. There's no question about that, but that stoppage came a little too early. In fact, I would argue that it did. It seemed a little premature to me. But this just goes to show, like, these are well-matched opponents. You know, as you mentioned, Borralho more well-rounded, but maybe not as necessarily potent, even where he is more well-rounded as he needs to be to have a significant advantage over Imavov. Imavov, I think, better in the stand-up, but not so much that he can just rely on that. And more to the point, you know, you got this bend, don't break thing with Imavov. Like, guys take leads on him sometimes. Obviously, it didn't happen in the Izzy fight per se, but, you know, in other cases you can point to, guys take leads on him. They just can't hold them. You know, that's the interesting part, at least more recently. In the past, that might have been a little bit differently, but more recently, that's been the case. And the other part, too, I want to point out, Borralho 32, Imavov just 29, BC, just 29. Like, really entering the prime of his career. And not just that, but, like, the part of his prime where he's still getting consistently better. There's a question about, like, what you're going to get with Borralho. Also, one thing we haven't really talked about, you haven't asked me, but it's important to bring up. Remember, Borralho was the fill-in recently for the middleweight title fight, and he had to cut weight for that. And then you're traveling internationally, jet lag, and then you have to cut again. I'm not saying he's going to miss weight. I don't know what the latest update is, but what I am saying is, man, that's a lot of weight cutting. That's a lot. It's just a lot of factors between that home field advantage, travel, the whole 9 yards, that you're giving your opponent in an already close contest. I still think, based on the last odds, correct me if I'm wrong, Long Island Luke, that Imavov is still the slight underdog. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
And they both made weight, by the way. The weigh-ins are over.
Okay,
was
great.
the
So they
only
both
guy
made weight. Fine. I was not expecting Borralho to miss it. That's not my point. But the point is, round 4. You know, if the takedowns aren't there and he's tired, what does that do? It's at least a factor to pay attention to going forward, even though Borralho himself has been like, oh, it won't be a factor. We shall see.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was going to be my next question. And I was almost going to lead to where I think you can keep making all of these little points, which we just did, which continue to put a certain level of advantage into Imavov, not just those 2 weight cuts in a short period of time, the 1-year layoff for Borralho. How about this? Imavov has a rock solid chin that has been tested by the very best. He also has a recent history of peaking in the championship rounds, as he's been a consistent 5-round fighter in fight night main events. So some people believe that Borralho's stamina can be here or there. I think overall he's pretty darn solid, but I wonder how much all of these advantages, when it's already such a close fight on paper, the betting odds are being so close, yet if it plays out so close in sort of some form of a high-speed chess match, then you're also dropping on top of that the potential home field advantage here in terms of how will the cheering from the crowd sway the judges if the action is close and back and forth. All things to think about. Here is Kyle Borralho, however, getting away from trash talk and just straight up saying, what is the challenge of facing this technical counter striker in Imavov?
What about Nasruddin Imavov do you see and you go, I could exploit?
You're going to make me put my game plan
I
out
mean,
here?
you don't have to tell him the whole game plan.
Yeah. He's really fast. He just explodes. That's what he did with Adesanya. I will need to be aware of that, positioning myself. The position is going to make me see a little bit far away.
The winner of this fight is fighting for the title next.
Yes, for
like
sure.
There's no if, what's about it.
That's the fight that makes sense. There's no point to be waiting on the #1 contender to go to the belt. I think I'm one of the biggest prospects in the division right now. 16 win streak. All my fights I fought like beasts. Jerry Cannonier, he had good fight, but it was an early stoppage, and nobody did what I did to Jerry Cannonier. So I'm here in my prime, no injuries, and nobody wants to fight. And finally we got it. He ran away a lot, but now I'm coming to get him on his place, on his down. I'll make this fight not that competitive as you think, as I did with all my fights, and I dominated them all.
Luke, is it fair to say that Imavov is the most deserving of the 4 middleweights that are vying for the attention of the matchmakers to get the title shot in these 2 fights? But we know why maybe he's underpicked. He's not a big trash talker, all that stuff. And then maybe Borralho is the least deserving, although I'm not saying that to take away from the ability that he's bringing in here as the favorite. It kind of feels like that.
Now, are you saying just among these two or among all four
Among
potential?
all four. Among all four. I look, Borralho's on fire from a win standpoint.
Right.
I don't think he's faced the competition that the other guys have.
I think that's right. Certainly in this case. Or well, here's what I'll say. Borralho's UFC run has been much more consistent. How about that? Right? In terms of the UFC, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a 9-fight win streak, and in the UFC itself, undefeated, right? I mean, that is, along with Fluffy, in terms of like the win streak itself anyway, pretty remarkable and very, very difficult to do, frankly, in any division, even though middleweight is not necessarily the UFC's best, although at this stage, it's obviously very good, especially at this level of it. I don't know if I agree with the premise of the question. I mean, dude, this is what's kind of interesting. I was really thinking about this, man. You know, this fight is, and then the RDR Fluffy fight, like these are, to me, it's actually insanely intriguing because, you know, is Imavov or is Borralho the biggest names, and is their matchup in some ways the most desired? And do you necessarily have, I got to see Hamzat, you know, Imavov, I got to see Hamzat Borralho. I don't know about that. There's some other ones on the other side of the ledger that people might feel a little bit differently about. But, you know, in general, I don't know. But because these fights are so closely contested, and especially in the case of the RDR Fluffy fight, it's an interesting style clash, also a very closely contested fight, at least one that we think will be closely contested. That by itself has kind of, I don't know if it's in a way raised my overall level of interest, but kind of neutralized what I can expect in a how do I say this exactly? I don't know what to expect exactly. I just don't know what to expect. I think we really got to wait and see what the results are, because obviously who wins and who loses is critical. But I mean, the picture will come into clarity once we have some resolution, not just about who is more deserving, who can make a more interesting fight, who answered better key questions about some of their upside, who answered better key questions about some of the things limiting them as well. They've got opponents, all four of them on either side, that are going to get a lot closer to some kind of just a better, clearer picture of what we have. And I'm really looking forward to that resolution. So I just don't know how to answer the question the way that you asked it.
I mean, it's a moot point regardless. They're all at the table. They have the opportunity now to do what they have to do. But as we go to this full screen Long Island Luke showing Imavov's UFC resume, the only thing he's lacked is charisma and a face, but maybe he'll get that from this Paris crowd. I mean, it is a perfect setting for him. Look at that. Most recently stopping pretty brutally Adesanya. You've got wins over a shrinking Brendan Allen, a cannoneer before he had lost to Borralho, Dolidze, Joaquin Buckley, Shabazian. Yes, there are losses to Sean Strickland and Phil Hawes, but he also beat Jurassic back Heinisch over there. Luke, that's a pretty damn underrated run. And I had sort of held him back in my mind for lack of sexiness. It's not that he fights boring. You just sometimes want him to pick up the pace and go for it a little more because he's so long, technical, powerful, has a great chin. But not everyone even knows that because it has been a tough sell. This is his opportunity to change that. Long Island Luke, before we make our predictions here, before we make our predictions, show this flashback video of Dana also getting rock hard, touching him in the back. Let's watch this.
We just did the weigh-ins up there. He came over and I said, good luck tomorrow. And I slapped him on the shoulder. I'm not shitting you. I mean, that guy feels like a piece of metal. I mean, that guy is fucking crazy. But
look, they've only said that about Yoel Romero in the past, just so you know, okay?
Yoel Romero, a famous middleweight underachiever.
Well, that's also kind of true there. Long Island Luke, from a betting standpoint, it feels like a coin flip. But I feel like we just laid out a lot of reasons why Imavov at home on plus money is a hell of a bet.
Yeah, there's value there. I'm not going to say anyone's wrong for taking that, but I'm riding with the fighting nerds on this one, baby. I'm actually parlaying Borralho and Ruffy together.
How do you think that fight goes? Like, what does it look like?
The main event?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Borralho can implement his wrestling. I did look into it, and Imavov's 2 UFC losses, which were Sean Strickland and Phil Hawes, he got taken down in both of those fights. So, like, Borralho's just got to take him down. Also, Borralho did win his last 3 fights without getting a takedown. So, like, he's proven he can hang. I do favor Imavov if it stays standing, though. I said on Submission Radio, I think it's going to be a close fight, 48-47 either way.
Yep.
Yeah,
Definitely see it going the distance.
Right.
Majority decision or split of some kind. But here's the thing, though, Luke, and I like the analysis Nocita just gave. Borralho has evolved from a wrestler first to a wrestler striker to kind of a striker nowadays. I wonder if that plays against him over a 5-round fight where we seem to be in unison that it's going to be up for grabs when it hits the 25-minute mark. All those factors are pointing me in the direction of the slightly more technical and I guess thoughtful. I mean, look, Borralho can carry out a game plan. He also can be aggressive and raw and athletic. I got to lean Imavov here by very close decision. Will he get the title shot? We're going to have to wait for October 14th to find out. But I don't feel like there's enough reasons for me to take Caio despite this fight being this close.
Man, I have struggled with this one. I don't think your analysis is really wrong at all. We've kind of been over the terms of it. By the way, I said a 9-fight win streak. It is 7 in the UFC, but he had 2 wins back-to-back on the Contender Series. So within the Zuffa family, it's a 9-fight win streak for whatever that is worth. I mean, this is the funny part about Imavov, right? Historically, he has shown more weaknesses. Right, as I mentioned, again, I know that Caio is not undefeated overall, but inside the Zuffa family, he is undefeated. He's been more consistent, and to the point you raised, I'm glad you brought it that way. He's kind of a grappler first, then he mixed it up, and now he can win on the feet exclusively, at least against the opponents he's fought. And more recently, he's been able to do that, and that's a big development, no question about it. But it does seem to me like the striking is sharper with Imavov, and while some of his flaws have been more, become more visible and have been somewhat more documented and part of, to an extent, his identity. The thing that I wrestle with on this one, no pun intended, BC, is that one, I mentioned he's got a bit of a bend, don't break kind of style. And 2, he's 3 years younger than Caio Borralho. Like, some of his failures have been on Front Street, but he's at a stage of his development where like big chunks and leaps can be made. And then you add in the weight cut, man, it's like, I'm in a perfect world, BC, I'd probably lean Borralho, but I think, I'm going to take a flyer on Imavov on this one. I just feel like there's enough reason to believe that this fight is going to be insanely close. And then, of course, if Imavov can't stop the takedown, then he's screwed, right? I mean, there's really no point in ever discussing anything further.
He has adequate wrestling. It's not a hole in his game, right? I mean,
it's not his strong suit. I would say that. It's not his strong suit. But I agree with you. I don't think it's like disastrous or anything like that. Again, Allen went for 10 takedowns, only got 1 of them. That was it. He couldn't do shit after round 1. So something to be said for that. I just feel like I absolutely buy that Borralho is more well-rounded. I don't think the tape is necessarily inconclusive about that. But some of the other factors give me a little bit of pause, and for that reason, I'm going to give a slight lean to Imavov. But I agree with Long Island Luke. I mean, it's going to be probably tight all the way down.
Yeah, I do buy also. I also Abu Dhabi, Luke. Let's transition out of this one and tell you that this podcast sponsored by Total Wireless, the official wireless partner of the UFC. When you're streaming the fight, when you're sending those takedown highlights to your boys, you need a wireless provider that keeps you close to the action. Hey, that's Total Wireless. They've got you covered by the Verizon 5G network, so you don't have to worry about your connection being KO'd like Luke Thomas in the last episode in the biggest moments. It's not something you could normally say about a wireless provider, right? They're in your corner. They got you back. Coach Latore all the way. Here's the thing, though. Once again, wireless keeps you covered for just $25 a month with 4 lines without sacrificing those essentials like speed. And with Total, you get unlimited 5G data, so you can stay ahead of that action and keep up with every finish on the mat. Total Wireless also understands that you can't afford any surprise blows. That's why the price is guaranteed. Get this. For 5 years, taxes and fees included. The best fighters don't make it to the top without a support system. Hey, it's no different when you're talking wireless. So why don't you visit TotalWireless.com right now or head on over to your local Total Wireless store to learn more about how Total Wireless can be in your corner. 5G access requires a 5G capable device and a 5G service area. Monthly rate on the Total Base 5G Unlimited plan for new subscribers applies only to the monthly rate for your plan. Additional terms apply. See the website for more details. We'll stay right here and transition into topic number 2, and it's the UFC Paris undercard this weekend. More specifically, a very good lightweight co-main event. But let's first get the business out of the way of the big weight miss that we teased earlier. This was meant to kick off the main card. Losine Caeta, the Guinea-born, Belgium-raised fighter who came in with a reputation as a 2-division octagon champion, making his UFC debut against the veteran Patricio Pitbull, and then missing weight aggressively. Pitbull decided not to carry on. Pitbull wants a short turnaround at UFC Hio against Arnold Allen, but Kaito would post a video on X of him in the bathtub in which he said, "For the first time in 25 fights, I failed to make weight, and it had to happen on my UFC debut. I wanted to continue and would have given everything to make weight, but my body didn't want it. I sincerely apologize to all my fans. I will be back like every time I fall in life." LT, this certainly sucks, but can we, in hindsight, say maybe it wasn't the best idea to cut back down to featherweight when he hasn't fought there in 2 years?
Yeah, and then doing it on 3 weeks' notice, no less. So, like, he hasn't, as you indicated, like I think the last time he made 45 was 2023. So, he's been fighting at 55 more recently, and took this fight on short notice. It's like, dude, I appreciate that he took the fight on short notice. I really do. But Pitbull doesn't have time to fuck around with people who can't make weight. I mean, he's got, a limited amount of time left in the game. He's trying to make it work. I understand why he did not accept the fight. I truly do. It sucks for us, but I sort of get it. And dude, like, if you're gonna, I just know, and for a lot of good reasons, observational and otherwise, the UFC loves it when you can fill in on short notice, but they don't want you to fill in on short notice if you cannot make weight. It's not what they want. They want they would rather you decline it than do this, right? Because now look at the consequence. We don't have this fight. An inauspicious way to begin his UFC tenure, BC. Not a death sentence or anything like that, but it sucks for us. And, don't take fights in weights you can't make. The UFC just absolutely hates it when fighters do that.
Agree that. He was a featherweight and lightweight champion at Octagon, but had been competing at lightweight. Misses weight by 3 pounds. And remember, he was a minus 225 betting favorite over Pitbull coming in. All right, let's talk about this co-main event. One hell of an explosive matchup between new school lightweights as number 13 Benoit Saint Denis enters as a slight betting underdog against a streaking number 15 Fighting Nerds member, Mauricio Ruffy, who is 12-1 as a pro, 3-0 in the UFC, and is just 6 months removed from a spinning wheel kick KO of King Green. On the flip side, BSD enters having been stopped in 2 of his last 3 fights. Luke, this is a very good fight on paper. The odds will tell you that as well. But how important in your eyes is the head movement in defense of BSD, who is fighting on a 1-fight win streak after a recent decision win in his comeback, in determining if he can get past Ruffy?
Man, this is an interesting one. Clear striker grappler kind of contest. You just cannot imagine a world where BSD can win on the feet in the event he can't get a takedown. I mean, MMA is crazy. Stranger things have happened, but it seems deeply unlikely. By contrast, if Ruffy cannot stay on the feet, then I don't know what his game. Well, I mean, I guess we'll see what his ground game more readily looks like, tested against this level of opposition. But in general, it just doesn't appear like that's probably his best chance to victory either. And BSD, dude, his defense is terrible. His defense is just biting down on the mouthpiece and kind of just moving through punishment. It's really never getting around it. His game is predicated on just kind of overrunning the need for defense. But then when you actually need defense because overrunning it doesn't work anymore, there's nothing really there to protect him. I mean, he absorbs an enormous amount of damage. I mean, we've seen that more recently in some of his fights. And then, just inadvisably kind of spams takedowns. Like, he doesn't set them up more methodically. He just, presses the gas pedal and goes. And there's a question because Ruffy has never been taken down in the UFC, but at the same time, he's really never fought anyone who just will aggressively go for it and can get it in the way that BSD can. It's kind of a really huge test. Now, I know there's a lot of hype around Ruffy, and in fact, of all the Fighting Nerds BC, my personal preference is I'm intrigued by him and Jayon Silva probably the most.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I think that they're going to go the furthest. It just means like right now I have the most amount of intrigue about them, but that, that can change. But certainly to me, a very intriguing striker. But at the same time, like, it's not to say if you can't beat BSD, you can't beat anybody. But if you can beat BSD, I think that a guy with an exciting style like this is just going to get rocketed to the front of this division in a very, very quick way. So a really interesting test of like, what can BSD put together some kind of strategic attack, and can Ruffy withstand an onslaught in the kind of way that BSD tends to deliver?
Yeah, well, BSD's God of War mentality and Ruffy's excitement, this has the potential to be fireworks. I did want to dead wrong myself, thanks to Long Island Luke. The comeback win for BSD was actually a submission of Kyle Prepolek directly after being stopped by Dustin Poirier and subbed out by Hainato.
But not a great win. I mean, he did not look super awesome in a win that he was widely expected to get. Sure. He got the job done, but like he didn't look great.
And it was the doctor stoppage against Moicano due to that eye injury right there. Luke, there's been a lot of Ruffy hitting the pads videos that have been getting MMA fans more erect than Luke Rockhold talking about Dylan Dennis. Look at this, dude. This guy can pop.
Yeah, I mean, Rockhold will bang Dennis in the ass. I mean, we heard that. Dude, this guy looks amazing on the pads. I mean, just, look at that for yourself. Look at the angles. Look at the pop. Look at the range, the creativity, the flow. It just looks amazing. There's no question. You let this guy cook at these kinds of ranges, it's going to be real bad for you. But of course, BSD is, at least early, not going to allow this. And so what does that look like? It's a great match. It's great matchmaking. The UFC did a good job with this one. I really enjoy it. I like it. And I want to see what both guys have.
Ruffy riding a 7-fight win streak. He's won all 3 of his UFC bouts, 2 by stoppage against King Green, and then a TKO of Jamie Malarkey in his debut. Also picked up a stoppage on the Dana White Contender Series. Long Island Luke, as we look at these DraftKings odds, minus 175 for Ruffy, plus 145 for Saint Denis, who will be fighting in front of the home crowd, does bring extensive violence and knockout ability. How are you looking at this from a betting standpoint?
I gotta go Ruffy. I told you guys already. I'm parlaying Ruffy and Borralho together. A little Fighting Nerds parlay. You get them both at under minus 200. It's great value. Parlay them together. It's plus money. I just feel like BSD. Luke was saying like he kind of looked like shit against Kyle Prepolek, and I agree. And Kyle Prepolek took that fight on like 3 days' notice. So like BSD should have really ran right through him. It went over 1.5 rounds too, which is like. Shouldn't have gone that long. He's also finished in the 2 fights before that. I just feel like you can't trust BSD right now. It is intriguing, him at plus money, but I think there's a reason behind that. I'm staying away until he can prove me wrong. So,
are you not moved by plus 600 on a BSD TKO KO DQ?
No, I'm not, because I think if BSD wins, it's probably by sub. I think Ruffy probably KOs him.
If you like BSD by sub, by the way, plus 500, that ain't bad right there. Luke Thomas, are you just going to stamp Ruffy? Because if he gets this win, if he extends that win streak, we're going to start talking about him like we do Gian Silva, Borralho, and those other nerds.
Yeah, big questions about Ruffy. Huge questions. Exactly how good is he? I have no clue. But I think this fight is obviously going to get us a lot closer to getting an understanding of that, and I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm going to ride with Ruffy in this one.
All right. Luke, you said on Monday when I brought it up, my Lithuanian British brethren, Modestas Bukauskas, is having a hell of a run in run number 2 with the UFC. Just 1 loss, opposite 5 victories. He'll be taking on a Paul Craig, who did re-sign with the UFC despite being 37, despite relocating back to the 205 division, and despite losing 5 of his last 6 at this moment. Here is Bukauskas trying to push back on your idea that he isn't a future player at 205 here on this newly changed run he's having in part 2 of his career.
Well, I think people are finally starting to take notice, before, when you're coming back, like even then when I posted the video up just recently, people were still talking more like I say about the knee injury and saying that this guy will never come back. I'm like, well, did you watch the whole video about me? I think now people are, like I say, starting to take notice. They're starting to realize that I mean business. I'm not just here. And essentially, I still feel like the comeback story is still being written. Do you know what I mean? I feel like, yeah, if people want to put emphasis on that, they can, because ultimately that can inspire, motivate people, you know, who are sort of down in the dumps, or they've had a bad turn in their careers, that they also have the power to change their stars and you know, make things happen.
So good for him, Luke, but he's going to have no problem as a minus 355 favorite against Paul Craig, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Bukauskas is definitely better this run, no question about it. It's just that Paul Craig's striking defense is, you know, just not where it needs to be. And obviously he's extremely clever on the ground, but I would imagine you would think that Bukauskas, of course, knows this and has trained around it, you know, in the event that he pulls guard, in the event that he wraps an overhook and pulls guard, or, you know, whatever, leg entanglements or whatever. You would imagine that they've got a kind of plan for that, and that he's going to have to slug it out. And if he has to slug it out, I definitely would pick Bukauskas over Craig for sure. So just a kind of a test exactly, not of Bukauskas's upside, BC, but definitely like has, you know, to what extent can he shore up the bottom, right? Can he make sure his defensive responsibilities are exactly where they need to be when they need to be? And that's not nothing. It's actually pretty important, but it's a doable task for him.
Yeah, he's coming off that split decision win over Ivan Cutelaba. He's beaten Tyson Pedro. He subbed out Prochnio, but hasn't had a real standout win. Paul Craig's got a good name, and the odds are against him here. Luke, I wanted to go a little bit down on the prelim just to bring this up. We know UFC badly needs heavyweight bodies, and at age 35, former 2022 PFL heavyweight tournament champ Ante Delija is here for his UFC debut. He's got a 6'5" frame, a 25-6 record, and KO wins over Yorgan De Castro, Henan Fajeda, Mateus Scheffel twice, and has decision wins over UFC vet Maurice Green and Denis Goitsov. Is he a threat to the division in your eyes as he enters his debut in a rematch against Marcin Tybura, or is he just another body here at heavyweight? And by the way, Tybura scored a TKO via leg injury against Delija back in 2015.
Threat to the division, I don't know. He's certainly massively improved relative to what he was even just a few years ago. Tybura is relatively old at 39 years of age. That doesn't help him necessarily. But, you know, Tybura is one of these guys where it's like, definitely, here's what I would say that this matchup means to me, BC. It's not really a question, at least at this point, about exactly where Delija fits into the division, other than to say, hey, if you can't beat Tybura, you know, not that he's some kind of bum, but if you can't beat him, it's just hard to believe you can really go far in this division. By contrast, if you can get past a guy like Tybura, it at least puts you into more interesting matchmaking scenarios, right? So getting past him is a pretty important litmus test. This is a good gauge to see, you know, what kind of heavyweight are you going to be? What can you be for us? What did the PFL run really do for you? We're going to get a pretty good answer as a consequence. Tybura has value in that way.
Yeah, if you want to ante up with a little more information, here is the new UFC Croatian heavyweight.
Hello, I'm UFC heavyweight Ante Delija. My professional record is 25 wins and 6 lose fight. I first start training in my hometown Dubrovnik. After I come to Zagreb training with Mirko Krokap, he's an MMA legend, and Kajan. Last years and half training in England with Tom Aspinall, Andy Espian, Mick Tarkin, Phil DeFries, and Modestus. Croatia is a small country, just 4 million people, and not too much fighters in UFC. I am fighting UFC, and my friend Ivan Ersan also fight. Just 2 fighters, and everybody, people from the Balkan give support. I'm in my prime, and I think I'm in this fight. I give my blood, my life, everything give for the win.
My wife, Luke, this is a pick'em according to DraftKings, a minus 108 to Tybura, minus 112 to the slight favorite Delija. Let me get that right. Just like the band comedian, Luke, Chris D'Elia. This guy's Ante. For our luck, though, he's probably going to get subbed out by Tybura, and we have no one else at heavyweight, right?
It's not looking great. It would be nice to see Delija win, not because I have anything against Tybura specifically, but we definitely, I mean, you would agree. I think most people watching would agree. Some new blood, some exciting, you know, names in there. It would be great. One thing to keep in mind, BC, one thing to keep in mind. Remember, we had Martin Buday, who was 7-1 in the UFC, and UFC was like, yeah, get to step in. We don't care. you know, it's not real. I mean, yes, winning is critical. Like if you don't win, then forget it. But it turns out at heavyweight, you know, they want to see people who can get the crowd on their feet a little bit. And there's been times D'Elia has been able to do that, but against Tybura, it's, you know, unless you're really good, that's going to be kind of tough to do. So, you know, this is what I mean. Like heavyweight is not in a great place, but the matchmaking here, I can see some of the thought that went into it from the matchmakers, and there is a fair amount of sense that goes into it. I understand.
Yeah. The other fight I have circled on the deep undercard, and then I'll ask you your opinions of what else we got here. It's borderline the curtain jerker, but welterweights Andreas Gustafsson of Bane fame and Rinat Fakhretdinov are going to bang. You got Gustafsson as a minus 122 favorite against the plus 102 Fakhretdinov. If you remember Gustafsson's debut, he had like the satanic tattoos, and he also
I don't know if they were satanic. They were something else.
And he also just beat down and gassed out Chaos Williams to get the win. There were a lot of videos I could have picked from here, Luke, including one in which he went off on Liver King aggressively. Yeah. But instead, here is the very controversial Bane Gustafsson telling us why Sean Strickland is actually a prophet.
I really like Sean. He's funny. I agree with many things he stands for. So I really like him, and I think he's right. Actually, in maybe not everything, but many things he stands for is right. When you talk about men, to be a man, you need to know how to protect your family, and you need to know how to be violent. You don't have to be a violent person, but you need to know how to fight and how to protect your loved ones. That's how a man should be, not just go out on the street and fight. But if somebody threatens you, you gotta know how to eliminate them.
Luke, your thoughts?
What do you want me to say, bro? What do you want me to say? I mean,
I don't know. Would he fish with a pre-meth Hitler? Probably, Luke. You know what I mean? Yeah. Probably, but whatever.
Probably with fishing pre-meth would be quite acceptable. I don't know what you want me to say.
They're going to bang, by the way, and that's just hilarious commentary on Sean Strickland, by the way. Luke, what else we got on this undercard that is making your eyes open?
Well, as we mentioned, I think it was on Tuesday, or maybe I don't know when we talked about it, but like, you know, the Kaita fight being off with Pitbull is a freaking bummer. But I'm going to remind people that there are some other signings on this one. Ante D'Elia is one, like a great kind of signing from PFL that they got. I mentioned it previously against, I will say Rise, but you corrected me correctly. It is Reese McKee, taking on Axel Sola out of Aries. Also, I want to put some respect on the name of Harry Hardwick coming from Cage Warriors, a good signing, going against, I don't know how to pronounce the dude's first name, K. Fernandez. Please forgive me. The pronunciation is a little bit wonky. BC, do I have this right? If Brad Tavares wins this weekend, he will surpass Michael Bisping's total amount of wins in the middleweight division for the most ever. Is that right?
It could be. I have not heard that.
I have that right.
The guy's been around for plenty of minutes, Luke. You know what I mean? So he's the Jim Miller of middleweight. I like that. Congratulations.
Something like that. Yeah.
All right, Long Island Luke, you have any other thoughts to sprinkle on this card? I mean, it is a good ass card. I'll say that out loud.
It is. There's 4 fights on the prelims that are like under minus 200 or closer range. So like very good value on this card. Umar C taking on Brenson Ribeiro. I mean, Brenson Ribeiro throws down. He's probably going to got, but you know, we'll see what happens there. Sam Patterson taking on Trey Waters. Sam Patterson likes to get the submissions. Trey Waters likes to get the knockout. Little striker versus grappler. We'll see what happens there. I mean, could be fun. It'll be fun. Tune in, guys.
All right, you got me fired up there. Maybe I'll tune into the main card minute with you and Gaffney Jim over there.
Join us, BC.
What'd you say to me?
I said join us.
Yeah. 3 p.m. Eastern main card, by the way, the UFC Paris tomorrow. Good shit right there. Let's go to topic number 3. We are exactly 8 days out from the big one. It airs live on Netflix Saturday, September 13th. Canelo, Crawford, the undisputed super middleweight championship. So as we continue to get you fired up for this one. I've concocted 5 fill-in-the-blank questions for Luke Thomas to stir up some chatter about this. We know the names at stake. We know what they're fighting for. We know everything here. Apparently, Netflix is about to roll out a couple episode primer documentary series to get us fired up for this. So fill in the blank time. Canelo Crawford, number 1, Luke Thomas. Should Terence Crawford pull the upset next Saturday, it will most likely be because of blank.
And this can be any factor?
Yes. What do you think will be the leading cause of Crawford getting the job done in this very close fight on paper?
How do I answer this? It's a great question. My boxing answer is going to be Crawford's movement and angling. Angles in particular, less so just pure movement, but angles. Using his feet and using superior angles and footwork to make Canelo play catch up as he turns him. Right? That's going to be my boxing answer. But my real answer, BC, I mean, it's sort of a more technical answer, obviously. My real answer is going to be, it's if Canelo, or I should say, if Crawford pulls the upset, it's going to be because of Canelo's hubris. You know what I mean? Canelo is at the stage of his career where he's taking what he thinks are, obviously this is a huge pay opportunity, right? But, he's not in it at this stage to risk losing to people he thinks he actually has to risk losing to. And I don't think he has taken a fight in quite some time that makes you think otherwise. So I think he believes that Crawford, and with good reason, BC, it's not like a crazy thought. Yeah, Crawford's good, but he's quite, relatively speaking, quite old. Older than Canelo. Who has more miles is somewhat of a different debate, but, older than Canelo. And the weight class jump is insane. BC, someone brought this up to me. Now, the comparison doesn't quite work, okay? But someone brought this up to me on my live chat. Ilia Topuria did fight at 35 once. He tried to do it a second time and missed weight, but he did make 35. And if you think about it, if he fought Islam at 70, that would almost be, to a degree, somebody who's gone 35 to 70. But of course, there's a couple problems with that, not least of which is, yes, Topuria technically made 35, but he didn't have any sustained campaign down there. Bud did, right? Bud was a champion at that weight class. But it goes to show that, look at what Bud is attempting. Yes, he's gone to 54. He had the fight against Madrimov. He looked fine to good, but not great. But he looked fine to good. And now this is 2 more weight classes above it. I mean, think about that, BC. If I asked you a question, who at 35 in the UFC do you think could get a belt at 170, either now or ever? Who would that be?
Damn.
Right? You know what I'm saying? It's tough. That's tough. That's a tough thing to answer. Look at what Bud Crawford is up against. Very difficult circumstances. So,
no doubt.
Canelo should win this fight. He should win this fight.
Crawford will be 38, has fought just once in the last 2 years. That was at 154, a close title capture against Israel Madrimov, but it's a virtual, in some ways, 3-division leap against a Canelo at 35, who has been very active. As we look at the DraftKings odds at this moment, this is wild that it's this close. It really is. Canelo minus 180, Crawford plus 145. I mean, there's a lot of respect being given to Zoe's backside and Crawford's chances in this fight on that line. Let's go to number 2 on fill in the blank. Defeating Terence Crawford would rank as the blank biggest win in Canelo's career. And let me hedge this by saying I asked a similar question to Rafe Bartholomew yesterday on Inside the Box, and he made an argument that because of Crawford's class, this is the biggest potential win in Canelo's history. I didn't agree with that, Luke. I didn't agree with that. You got to go Golovkin
bigger
too.
Than the second Triple G fight.
That's what I'm saying. But I get the argument, at least. It's a hipster argument, but I get it. Bud really is that dude on Canelo's resume in a lot of ways.
Wow. I don't know, man. the original campaign that he went on at 68. I mean, is Caleb Plant the same kind of fighter as Bud Crawford? No, but the campaign he went on, beating Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith, and then we were there in Vegas when he beat Caleb Plant and whatnot, and then Kovalev, and Kovalev was 75, but still, that's a tough one, man. I agree that if you're talking about, hey, what are the best pound for pound guys if Canelo wins, where would Bud rank? And yeah, pure pound for pound, Bud is maybe the most decorated, but because of the weight difference, BC, I don't know where to put him. I honestly don't know where. Here's what I would say. I definitely cannot rank it above the second Triple G fight. I can't do that. I cannot.
And I think it would get more value if Crawford turns out to be super competitive in it and it's this thriller, right? Then you're like, okay, that raises the value. But if I'm going to right now, as we speak on Friday, September 5th, I'm leaning Canelo here by decision and feel firmly confident in that. I would have to go Triple G #2 as his biggest win, beating Miguel Cotto for the middleweight title, 7 rounds to 5 being his second biggest. You can throw in the knockout of Kovalev. Those are probably the 3 I put in there because, that was him moving up to 175. Obviously, he's lost to greatness in Floyd and Bivol, but it's a hard thing to answer because of that fact. Crawford may end up being literally the best guy he ever beat in terms of the performance, but he's also 38 and hasn't fought. It's wild, Luke. It's a real.
What if Crawford gets washed? You know what I mean? Then it's hard to know what value this has at all. I mean, obviously you have some, but it's tough to categorize.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, let's go to #3 here on Fill in the Blank. Canelo Crawford debuting here for Zuffa Boxing, being on Netflix without an upcharge inside Allegiant Stadium. 2 legends is the biggest fight in boxing since blank. It's a hard one also to answer, by the way. It is because there's other.
You're talking about biggest fight. So it's definitely at a bare minimum, it's the biggest since Better Bivol 2, right? Bare minimum.
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
again,
my knee jerk is to go all the way back to Mayweather McGregor, to be honest with you. That's my knee jerk, but then I'm like, then you have to kind of think about is
that true? I don't know how true that is.
I mean, was Fury Usyk in a stadium bigger? What do you do with Tyson Paul? This is why it's hard to really answer right now.
Until we've seen the fight and we can measure it, it's very difficult to know. I'm going to say Fury Usyk.
Okay.
I'm going to say Fury Usyk. It's the biggest fight to me since then. That was a huge fight. Not stateside, obviously, but, well, I mean, it was a big fight here in a sense, but you know what I mean? It didn't take place here. Yeah, I'm going to go that one. I mean, could it get to a place where it has this massive cultural impact in the way that Mayweather McGregor did? I don't think so. It sounds like I'm shitting on it, and I want to be clear. I'm absolutely not shitting on this fight. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be a spectacle. But we've already kind of said that it's probably the case that Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis is going to be bigger. And dude, I hate to say this because that fight sucked the backside of my butthole, but I'm sorry to tell you, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, if we're asking how big an event
that's the wild card part of the question to me.
Right? That was a big, I mean, dude, I remember going to my, the local neighborhood restaurant where I live and then sitting down and then hearing people in my orbit talk about it. I was like, holy shit, this fight is fucking huge. So honestly, that's probably the right answer, even though I hate to even put that in the conversation because of what it was.
All right. If we remove the attraction fights like Maymack and Tyson Paul, I wonder if you're really looking at, is it the biggest since Triple G Canelo 2 or Tank versus Ryan? We got to remember too, you know what I mean? Or
Tank
just
Ryan
what we
was
said.
big. Yeah, that was a big one. That was a big one.
But there were some heavyweight ones along that way involving Fury, Usyk. I remember Fury Wilder 2 and 3 were massive too, but this one feels like
the question is if you take out the Jake Paul sideshows and you ask what's the biggest boxing fight since, or to answer the question that you're putting, what was the last time ask the question again? How did you phrase it?
So this is the biggest fight since what?
Since what? But imagine we said biggest fight that took place in the U.S. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Then you can start to carve it out.
Would it be Spence Crawford?
Yeah, I think it's bigger than that in every category. I do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, but that's what we're talking about. Like it's something like that.
Great stuff here. Let's go to number 4 on fill in the blank. From age to size to inactivity, the biggest disadvantage on fight night that Crawford will be up against when he fights Canelo is what? Because those are maybe the 3 biggest things going against Crawford in this fight. The fact that he's 38, the fact that he's basically a welterweight, and the fact that he's fought once in 2 years.
Size. Size has got to be the answer for me. I think that Bud has the inactivity, clearly doesn't help. At the same time, I do think, generally speaking, Bud has not taken an enormous amount of damage in his career and has, generally speaking, taken very good care of his body just as a professional athlete during camps, after camps, during the course of his professional career. So to me, those are limiting factors, but you're asking about the biggest one. The reality for me is the size. I mean, I've said it a million times. I sound like a broken record, but like, you know, if Bud and Canelo, I mean, I realize they're going to be the same size on fight night or whatever, certainly weigh-in day anyway. But if they were naturally the same size, I would pick Bud 10 times out of 10. I think he's a much more skilled boxer than Canelo, even though Canelo was obviously in his prime, very, very skilled. But that weight difference, and again, one more time, it's not just like what kind of power Canelo can unleash, and we know he's got dynamite power. His power carries up another weight class beyond him. Not fully, but it hasn't, against the sort of an over-the-hill Kovalev. But the issue for me is, BC, dude, Canelo has a fucking rock chin.
Yep.
He's got a legendary chin, maybe the best chin I've seen during the course of my like watching boxing. You know, guys who were contemporaries during my time. That's a tough thing to beat. And BC, then it gets to another problem that you have, which is how many times have you seen Canelo in a fight where you were sure he was down on the scorecards and then they read the decision and it's Canelo gets another win? And this is why Bud has such a difficult problem. You're going against a guy several weight classes above you who's got an all-time chin and also is a darling to the judges. Dude, that's a very difficult guy to beat.
It is. Luckily, Bud is one of one, and we're all under the agreement that if anybody can do it, it is Bud. I do love that he's leaning into, I'm not going to come in here as a welterweight or a junior middleweight. I'm going to bulk up. He seems to be taller than Canelo. And Luke, here's some video of him 10 days out working out, and a lot of people talking about if this is what super middleweight Bud looks like. We know he's got that like natural amateur wrestling strength too, Luke. I wonder if he's got ideas of kind of doing what Andre Ward did against Kovalev, which is try to get inside and bully the bigger man. I mean, it's kind of what Canelo did to Kovalev too as well. It's interesting.
Yes, it could happen. I tend to think he's going to kind of play on the outside a little bit, but we'll see.
Here's a video from the Netflix documentary series that's, I think, out now about Crawford talking about putting on the muscle and moving up in weight.
While training camps are typically grounded in familiar routines and rhythms, the 42nd fight of Bud Crawford's career presents a sizable new challenge. He's moving up 2 weight classes, from 154 pounds to the super middleweight limit of 168. Which means, among other things, in Canelo Alvarez, he'll be facing the heaviest opponent of his career. And likely so, the hardest punches too.
Yip, step off.
We got a big-ass challenge ahead of us.
Step off.
But that's what makes fighters great, when they go out and get the biggest challenges they can get.
Punch, catch, go.
Don't let anyone tell you that the weight doesn't matter. It makes this a monumental accomplishment for Crawford.
Putting on muscle don't actually mean that you're going to be slower, but you punch a little harder.
He is willing to take a risk. This is literally uncharted territory for Terence Crawford.
Look, that makes you want to believe he's going to fight Canelo, not box him, fight him.
Sounds like it makes you want to believe that.
It does. It does. I love storylines. Here's a little Lego promo that they got too. The things are finally picking up. I hope that was enough to sell Tukey on it, Luke.
Probably not.
All right. Our final question here on Fill in the Blank. Tyson versus Paul last October did 65 million concurrent viewers on Netflix. Insanity. Canelo Crawford will do blank from the standpoint of concurrent viewers during the main event.
Somewhere around half of that.
Which is still massive, dude.
Still
like
massive, dude. Even if you have 30, let's say you have 30 to 33 million concurrent viewers, dude, that's, you're talking like an NFL game or a big time NFL game. Like, that's a huge audience. I don't think folks realize how big that is for combat sports, for a fight. That's why I'm saying the Paul Tyson thing is like clearly the answer to the question you had asked. Again, it's a sideshow bullshit ass fight. We all know. In fact, it soured me so greatly on anything Jake Paul related, but it did have a massive audience. I just think it's deeply unrealistic. Is Canelo a big star? Of course. Is Netflix a powerhouse platform? Of course. Is TKO giving it, some level of a good push here? Yes. I mean, you could quibble with some of it, but they're not doing nothing. But the problem is, I don't know how big of a star Crawford is. And BC, one criticism you can make is that he beat Spence in this like insanely spectacular performance, and then didn't really capitalize on the fame that was supposed to come from that. He did some interviews, he did a little bit to get his name out there again, certainly. But you would have thought he would have like fought Charlo right after that or something like that, and that didn't really happen. And so he's just not as much of a star. Dude, Jake Paul, you can like him or you can hate him, and believe me, I don't have any love for him, but he's not. People think he's like, oh, he's irrelevant and not popular. I'm sorry to tell you, he's arguably America's most popular boxer. Bud Crawford is not, and Bud Crawford is like obviously 8 gazillion times better than him, but I don't know what the ingredient would be. Oh, it's a more legitimate guy versus a more legitimate guy. Cool, that's great, but this is a star power business. And star power is what determines what kind of audience you're going to get.
Yeah, indeed. One final note here. Interesting video from Tim Bradley. I mean, I feel like a lot of the experts, it's still split, but I feel like a lot of the experts are picking Canelo. But the fighters are continuously, name after name, picking Bud. And here's Tim Bradley putting the exclamation point on it.
Netflix, listen up. When this man get the knockout, because he going to knock out Canelo Alvarez. When he get the knockout, don't forget Miss Deborah. Get that shimmy dance. Get that dance from Miss Deborah. Get the camera, get the family on camera, yo, so we can document this, because it's going to be one of the greatest performances you've ever witnessed in the sport of boxing by Terrence Bud Crawford. Knocking out somebody that's been in the ring with some of the heaviest punches in the game. Heaviest puncher. Triple G is legendary. Didn't put a dent in Canelo. Now just watch what Crawford does to his behind. Yeah, y'all talking about thudding power from Canelo? What about shot power and timing like a Manny Pacquiao has? Yeah, y'all don't know nothing about there. It's a huge difference. That sharp power where it sting you for a minute momentarily, and that follow-up shot comes sweeping and knock your behind out. That's Bud Crawford. And you know he can turn it on when he want to turn it on. He can turn it off and he can turn it on. Canelo ain't got that in him. He ain't got that in him. Yeah, he ain't knocked nobody out in 4 years. 4 years, he ain't knocked nobody out. You expect him to go in there and knock out the best fighter in the world, the most skillful fighter in the world, because you think he's small? Hell no. It's not about the size of the dog. It's about the size of the fight in the dog. Don't ever forget that. Anyways, that's my time, and I'm out.
I like how he's like, that's my time. This is what people used to say when they would have long rants when they would call in on my radio show. They're like, anyway. You know what I mean? He's like, it's like Tim from Santa Rosa. What you got? All right, here's what I got to say.
First time, long time. Yeah. Exactly. Luke, that's aggressive. I mean, even Sugar Ray Leonard, which is one of the comparisons you can make for what Bud's doing. Ray moved up one weight class, but it was after a 3.5-year retirement, and he beat the best middleweight of all time in Hagler. He didn't knock him out though. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's wild.
Also,
But
also not for nothing, but you can score that fight for Hagler too, right? So
true, but like, is there anything to the quick, sharp punches here? I understand how knockouts work. It's not who hits the hardest; it's who hits you perfectly on the chin when momentum's not going your way. I mean,
well, I mean, just ask yourself a question, right? So, like, who's had success against Canelo? Okay. I mean, you could argue the second Triple G fight, but just to make it clearer, first Triple G fight you could point to.
Yes.
Is that something that Bud can do? Does he have that kind of thudding power to press him like that? I don't know. And then you could point to, for example, Bivol. Bivol kind of worked him over, but Bivol was able, like, with, yes, he was firing accurately and off timing, but dude, he had power to press. I mean, I remember there was times where Canelo was like up against the ropes, just getting kind of battered. And it's like, I don't think Bud can do that. So what way does Bud have to win? And I'm not arguing he can't or he won't. I want to be clear. I think Canelo should win. I really hope Bud does. But he's going to have to beat Canelo, it seems like, BC, in a way that no one else who's had success against Canelo has done.
Yeah, let's see. This is what greatness is all about. We're going to find out. Let's go to topic number 4. Quick little boxing news and notes segment. Luke, we might as well mention it overnight. Something called CSI Sports has announced that Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson are now going to have an exhibition. There's no network. There's no date, but it's signed for spring of 26. What are we doing here, dude?
Bro, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I suppose this is inevitable, right? Isn't this the natural conclusion of where all this has been headed?
Yeah.
Is just recycling old names into like meaningless stunts for publicity that, have some kind of sizzle to, like, for people who have like a romanticized idea about what they could be or what those guys still represent. But we all know it's going to be the worst thing we've ever seen. Dude, fucking Tyson looked terrible against Jake Paul. And I realize that Floyd is much smaller and also much older, but like, who gives a shit? Like, I mean, it just is. Dude, and especially like, we're just looking around, like, what are the big fights being made in the US? It's shit like this,
Well, I feel like they're just use that announcement as an advertisement to try to get a TV provider or somebody to pay for it.
They didn't announce what it was going to be. I did notice that. Nor location, nor date,
And look, the one thing about Tyson Paul was, on paper, it was a real fight and not an exhibition. Now, in hindsight, that's ridiculous and disgusting, but that was part of the thing holding together that like train wreck element of Tyson coming back. He was also fighting like a novice boxer. I mean, this is just like, ugh. Yeah, I mean, no. All right, Luke, rapid fire here. Lightweights Isak Pitbull Cruz and Lamont Roach Jr. are reportedly in talks for a possible December showdown in Inglewood, California. Is that the right step for Roach now that the Tank rematch has dissolved?
I mean, if he wants to do relevant, interesting stuff, this would be at 35, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Then this is who you got to fight. I love the fight. I wonder if Lamont has bit off more than he can chew, because yes, Tank beat Pitbull and arguably Lamont beat Tank. And so you could play a little bit of math, but you got to have real, if you go back and watch how Tank beat Pitbull, it was a lot of ring craft. He basically solved him, but was on the back foot, turning. And, was just kind of out striking him by sort of clever boxing. Pitbull is when he's come forward, you love him for it. When he's like, Mexican in your face, downhill kind of marchers, the ones that we all, like the fight fans love. And if you don't know how to handle that, that can be overwhelming. It takes real skill to do that. And I do think Lamont is skilled, but it's going to test him. That's a big, like Pitbull's a big test. Now he's been battered a little bit since the Tank fight. So I love the fight, but it's a bit of a nail biter for those of us here in the DC area.
Yeah, I'd love to see that fight. Also, Shakur Stevenson reportedly in talks about moving up to 140 to challenge for Teofimo Lopez Jr.'s WBO title. It would top a January supercard, which Boxing Scene reported is being planned by Turki Al-Sheikh. We all know Teofimo gets in and out of fight negotiations and then disappears of late. But Luke, if that fight goes down, Shakur versus Teo at 140, and Shakur has even said publicly he'll do it in an 18 by 18 ring if that's what it needs to be. Who would you favor from a betting standpoint of that?
At 40?
Yep.
Maybe Teo because of the size, and I mean, I think Shakur would be naturally faster, but could get overwhelmed as a consequence, or not because of his speed, but because of the size disparity. But that's an interesting one. Did you see Shakur get real mad at friend of the show Dan Canobio for being like that fight would be a snooze fest?
And I saw Andre Ward get mad at that conversation. I didn't see Shakur.
Yeah, Shakur got bitter at him too. They got because basically Dan didn't say he hated the fight, but that it would just be kind of boring based on styles make fights.
Right.
And they didn't like that too much. They got after him for it.
Oh, I'd love to see it. Look, Shakur's coming off a performance that you cannot call boring, right? What he did to William Zepeda, who was game in that fight, and how he just stood in there and mixed it up. Dude, I'm favoring Shakur on paper in this one, and I would love to see this fight. Stephen Fulton Jr. is going to move up on that October 25th Thurman Fundora PBC pay-per-view and challenge Oshaki Foster for a third title in a third division at 130 pounds. But at Wednesday's press conference, he said if he wins that fight, he's immediately going up to 135 to chase a fourth title. Luke, is this a good idea for Scooter?
Jesus. My hunch is to say no. I don't know if his game would translate up in the way that he imagines. Do you? I'm guessing you share that opinion, right?
I want to see first what he looks like at 130. Here's the face-off between them. We can speak over it. But like he felt small even at featherweight where he won the title in the rematch with Figueroa wearing the Timbs. But he does have great skill. I don't believe the power would carry up. He's not really known for being a power puncher, but it is interesting ambition for a guy who has successfully rebounded from that disaster against Inoue.
Also, Oshaki obviously rebounding after being hurt by the judges' decisions and getting his belts back eventually, can kind of play a little bit low volume. And I wonder if Fulton might be able to sneak through as a consequence. That's an interesting matchup itself right there.
Yeah, very good on this card. I don't know how many pay-per-views they'll sell here, Luke, but we will have a interesting main event with Thurman and Fundora. Here's the video of Thurman getting on the stool.
You know what? God bless Keith Thurman trying to sell this fight. I mean that sincerely, dude. PBC needs people who are going to get out there and do something to, even if it's a small gesture. Because Fundora, as good as he is, BC, he ain't that guy. And Thurman is, probably going to get absolutely battered here, but he's trying to do his best to sell this thing as Fundora joins us from a time machine in the 1970s. I love this fight. I actually love this fight.
It's weird, but I kind of like it. Here's Thurman on what we can expect.
You want a 12-round fight? No. Huh? No. What do you want? Knockout. Huh? 12 rounds? You want a knockout. 6-round fight. You want a 6-round fight? Oh, you want that Hagler Hurd, baby? You want 2 rounds of madness? Where one of us gotta go. Because when two greats go toe-to-toe, blow for blow, someone's gotta fall down. Hashtag Timber! I'm telling you, man, this is just a warm-up. I'm looking forward to this fight. I'm looking forward to the hype. You guys, we got 8 weeks of action. Follow, tune in, stay glued, because it's only gonna get better as we get closer to October 25th. Thank you once again. God bless.
He's working overtime. I hope he doesn't get KO'd, Luke, because Fundora's found a new groove after that Zoo rematch.
He's going to get... I mean, Fundora, I can't ever forget about the Brian Mendoza loss, but in all likelihood, he's going to splatter Keith Thurman.
We'll find out. Thurman's only lost to Manny Pacquiao in a split decision. Topic number 5 time, we do a little MMA news and notes on a slow-ish week, but Ariel Helwani on his show did provide a lot of the news. First and foremost here, former UFC light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira now admitting that he really was mad at the promotion and that his angry tweet was not hacked regarding the prospect of him getting skipped over for the Ankalaev rematch in favor of Yuri Prochazka. Here is Poetan on the Helwani show talking about it.
Was it true from your perspective that they tried to offer Yuri a fight against Ankalaev? Is that accurate?
Pouco de falta de comunicação.
So a little bit was miscommunication because Alex kind of found out through social media, stuff like that, and he was upset back then. That's why he sent a Twitter. But he regretted he was wrong because he didn't know talks that was going on, anything that was going on. So it was kind of miscommunication between camp manager and the UFC's, not UFC's fault.
So can we clear that up? Because you did send a tweet from your account, and it seemed like you were upset, and then you took the tweet down. Can we clear up that was him actually in the moment upset?
Yeah, he just said that actually.
Sem nenhuma exposição.
100% was lack of communication, was a little bit impulsive from him. He acted a little early because he didn't talk to our manager, like, you know what I mean, found out from Hunter. He saw the internet stuff and he felt a little bit hurt because he was promised a neck title shot and then he sees that. Instead to just have a more mutual communication between camp, Hunter, and everything. So, yes, 100%. It's all straight up now.
I like when guys push back against authority. And it may have been impulsive, but if he felt like, hey, what else can I do to save all of your biggest cards of all time by coming in injured on short notice? Also, Luke, Mackenzie Dern in the same week, in the same show, revealing that she found out she was fighting for the title on Instagram. So I think there are communication issues there.
Yeah, I suspect that could be tightened up a little bit, but the idea that, you know, I was hacked and it was a very specific UFC related complaint, you know, I think most of the audience probably realized that there was not much to that.
Yeah, there you go. Luke Rockhold also came by the AH show and hinted at retirement from combat sports at age 40. Yet then told Ariel Helwani he's willing to fight Dylan Dennis. The two of them had a backstage melee at Misfits 22, and Rockhold took it a lot more aggressively than we needed here. Let's listen.
I would fucking kill that kid. I would come back to fight that kid.
Now you're back. Your retirement's over.
With two hands behind my back, I would fuck that kid in the ass.
Fuck. Oh God. That's a whole different type of fight. Jeez.
Hey. I'll bring it. I'll make it real dirty for that little swamp.
Oh man,
swamp rat.
Did you, Luke? Rockhold will become the first man to turn a man and a woman gay in like a 1-year period after that.
I just want you to know, at times we've been the best of friends, at times we've been the worst of friends, but I've never had a desire to sodomize you. I want to be very clear about that. Okay.
With my arms tied behind my back.
With my arms tied behind my back. It's never ever once crossed my mind. I want to be clear.
God, all right. The biggest headlines probably came from the Rampage Jackson sit down with Ariel, where he announced he's actually cut off ties with his son Raja Jackson following that unfortunate pro wrestling debacle and the heavy assault, which is still being dealt with. Here's Rampage talking.
Are you at all worried about his well-being?
Yeah, it's my son. I am worried about his well-being. How many kids you got?
I got 3.
All right. So why you asking me some stupid ass shit?
Well, can I be real with you?
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it would feel like to see my son do that. I also don't think I would cut my son off if he did that. So if you are worried about his well-being, why are you not talking to him?
Because he dishonored my name, and but
he's still your son.
No, listen. I know he's my fucking son. I'm not cutting him off for forever. I just haven't talked to him.
But this is the worst moment of his life. He needs you now more than ever.
No, listen. I talked to him after the shit happened, and he hid the fact that he did this shit, and you know he put my other kids at danger based off what the other people said, and I just can't talk to him right now. I just can't. I'm not saying I'm never going to talk to him again. I just can't talk to him right now. I need some time. I'm dealing with his attorneys and all that shit, but I'm very disappointed in Roger. Like, yeah, I'm not a perfect parent, so I don't know what's the protocol to how much time you stop from talking to your son when he fucking goes out there and hurt somebody. He put a guy in a fucking hospital.
Luke, I like talking about stuff like this as much as you like talking about MMA power couples or MMA power bottoms, but is this the right move from a father's perspective? Oh, God.
I mean, we're both dads. You have more kids than me. I have just 1. I don't know. I mean, dude, what do you do? Can you imagine your son's doing anything like this? You know, and what that would do to you? Like, it can't be easy. But here's the thing about Rampage that I just don't get. It's like, dude, wasn't he streaming like the next day or like the day after?
No, he was streaming when it happened, dude. He was
no, but okay, but that's one thing. and then you absorb the weight of it, and then you process it. But then he was out like the next night bowling or some shit, and I'm like, dude, take a fucking day off, man. This is deadly serious, quite literally. I would not wish this on any parent. I would not wish this on anybody. I'll say this too, BC, and you can, for folks who are not parents yet, it's harder than it looks. It's so many situations are crystal clear what you should do. But it seems like almost an equal amount or maybe more. It's not exactly clear what the right choice is and what you're doing is right. And, how you navigate something with them, especially something as insane as this. So I'll tell you this much. I don't love to hear that he's not speaking to his kid. I think Raja has serious fucking issues that he needs to address, clearly. But I don't know how, even if it's temporary, excommunicating them gets you to a better place. You know what I mean?
I'm with you on that. It is, I don't know if he's trying to protect his own name for marketing purposes for the future, or if he feels betrayed by his son's action. I mean, it's just a horrible, awful situation.
Mess, man.
It's attempted murder. It really was. All right, enough of that. Let's keep it going here. Bud Crawford sat down with the Full Send podcast after Netanyahu was finished, Luke, and he was asked an interesting question.
Who do you watch in the UFC that you think?
My guy, what's his name?
You seen Taporis? Cody Garbrandt?
Yeah, he the best. He the best UFC boxer.
Have you seen Topuria? Have you seen his fights recently?
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Cody got them hands.
Cody's not like, I'm not shitting on him, but he's not on the.
But I'm saying we talking about straight boxing.
Straight boxing?
Yeah, we ain't talking about nothing else. We talking about straight boxing skills. I just think Cody got the best boxing skills, in UFC. That's just my opinion.
Wow, look, I thought he was gonna say best face tattoos, but he has hands, right?
I mean, here's the thing. It's not like Cody doesn't have great skills, but BC, I kind of question first of all, how much tape has Bud watched, right? I mean, partly there's a question there. And yes, it's like if you watch Cody move, he's got good movement, again, relatively speaking, for a UFC fighter, and he's got good technical skill in that way. But BC, isn't part of what makes you like a good boxer the extent to which you can leverage that to win fights?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Does he mean like Cody looks most like a boxer when he's shadow boxing, or
probably because he does have that movements. He's got
Yes.
some highlight reel one punch KOs.
In which case, I couldn't. I mean, and obviously Bud knows fucking way more about boxing than us two idiots. I'm just saying it's a little hard for me to understand. I don't know what like set of tape he's looking at to make that determination.
Luke, Anderson Silva in the news as the UFC antitrust lawsuit payouts continue to fill up the direct deposit holes of these ex-fighters. And we found out that the lowest payout from the settlement was $16,138.45, but the highest payout was $10,334,240.72, and it went to the Spider, Anderson Silva. Do you like in this case that the most money goes to the guys that already made the most money? Is that the fair way to do this?
Yes, those guys got cheated the most.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yes. Yes. First of all, I have to say, like, now that the money's being handed out, like, obviously this was true before, but now that the money's being handed out, like, dude, those fighters who fought this for 10 years to get people paid, people owe them a debt of gratitude.
Yeah.
I just think that's a fact. The people owe them a debt of gratitude. Second of all, a lot of people want to say, oh, well, didn't the Spider make millions before? Yes, he did, of course. But the question is not, did he make millions? The question is, relative to what he generated, how much was he compensated? And that's why he's getting this big fat check, because there is a gap. There is a gap. Dude, a $10.3 million check. I mean, he didn't make that to fight Jake Paul. You know what I'm saying? There's no way he made that kind of money. He probably made closer to the 5 to 7 million range, which is still, pretty significant. But, dude, 10.3 million at this age in his life, good for him, dude. Good for him. He earned it. That will go very far. You got to feel happy for him, and I certainly do.
Yeah, red panty night in the Silva house.
Yeah, no kidding. And he
Trust
didn't
us,
have to
keep
do
that.
anything extra to get it. I mean, that's fantastic.
Well done right there. Finally, Luke, coming off of his first pro defeat against RDR, Bo Nickel has agreed to his next fight. USC 322 MSG in November against Rodolfo Vieira. Is this the right matchmaking to give Bo a chance to get back on track?
Sort of. I mean, the thing is this is like, does Bo want to take down Rodolfo Vieira, who has not turned out to be the MMA fighter that he was in terms of like how, I mean, he was one of the best grapplers of the 2010s, right? I mean, just an insane level of achievement, highly technical, built like a brick shit house, you know, the whole 9 yards, but then his MMA career has not been as great. But if he's got skills, BC, they're on the floor. Like his, you know, in general, that's where he's going to win. So like now Nickel's going to have, it's funny, right, BC? They gave him Paul Craig, and now they're giving him Rodolfo Vieira. It's almost like they want him to work on his striking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're telling him, get better at that shit. And he's, you know, listen, everybody, including me, piled on Bo Nickel after he lost. But this is his chance to shut me and everybody else up about what he's been working on, dialing in, getting better. And this is a good chance against a guy who is not like, I mean, he's very vulnerable in the stand-up. So if Bo Nickel has been working on stuff, this is a good, I kind of like the matchmaking, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I'm interested. That's another sort of interesting feature fight to add to a huge pay-per-view. I'm down. The final thing I want to mention is I found the quote from Patricio Pitbull reacting to Kaita missing weight and this fight getting canceled. Patricio said, I'm absolutely sure he didn't try going to the bathtub to cut more. There's plenty of ways to try. He was surrounded by kids. There was no one older to put him in place and say, stay there, go make weight. At 9 a.m., he weighed in, he was over. And instead of trying until 11 a.m., which is the limit, he was eating baby food. Fuck you, man. If you want to blame anyone, blame my opponent, Black Panther. He's more like Fat Panther. End quote. That's great. That's just great stuff right there. All right. Those are our 5 topics for this week. Now we'll transition into some fan segments. And the way to get in our holes inbox wise is to email us at morningcombat@gmail.com. Mikey is on the other end for your dead wrongs, your fan subs, your complaints, or if you need a friend, Mikey's there. Show him your private parts. Our first segment is where we take the stand for some bullshit we said, but you better have receipts and you better man up. This one's called Dead Wrong.
Dead Wrong.
Aloha from Hawaii, Luke. It's Daz, baby.
Back up on that ass and give these motherfuckers a blast from the past.
Daz says at 1:56:20 of Monday's show during BC's Feces, he mentioned that Deshaun Jackson getting anesthesia for a back tattoo, to which LT mentions, quote, the wide receiver. I thought I said Deshaun Watson. That's what I thought I said. Did I say the wrong name?
Well, that's what I didn't understand, because Deshaun Jackson was the wide receiver.
Oh, I meant to say Watson. Maybe I said Jackson because my brain is failing me. And then BC responded with the QB. Both LT and BC were close, but no cigar. The NFL player in the video was Deshaun Watson, Cleveland Browns quarterback, not Deshaun Jackson, retired wide receiver. As always, appreciate all the content on MK, BCX, LT, main card minute, one more round, and the JBR podcast. Wow. Shout out to Sandine's old balls.
Yeah, Deshaun Jackson he played in Philly a long time, and he played here briefly in DC as well. That's why I was like,
yeah, he was fast
Jackson?
as balls. Daz closes with LT. I will be rooting for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders along with you. I've been a fan for 30 plus years. Dude.
No way. Yeah, dude, season opener, 1 p.m. on Sunday. I'm pretty pumped.
Go Manders. Yeah,
Go
there
Manders.
you
Go
go. Our
Manders.
last dead wrong comes from, I'll take the L on that if I said Deshaun Jackson. I mean, I've been serving up L's left and right lately. Here's Greg. He says on the September 2nd episode at 8 minutes, 30 seconds of the YouTube video, BC said Darren Till had lost 6 of his last 7 UFC fights. This is slightly pedantic, but it is dead wrong. He actually lost only 5 of his last 6. Be that as it may, Rockhold was seeing darker visions than BC's liver when Till sent him to bed early. Okay, so Till had lost 5 of 6, not 6 of 7. 2 L's for your boy B Sizzle. That's the end of Dead Wrongs. Our final opportunity is for pretty much Saul to put pictures of himself wearing MK while he's out with his wife, and it's fantastic, right? You also can see artwork. This one's called Fan Subs.
You've got mail.
viewers.
All right, Dave S is here, and he says, apparently my recent fan subs were deemed too controversial. Oh, this is Sandine, Luke. So I decided to show off some pleasant pictures of some of my MK merch and whatnot. The first picture is me installing lights in my MK hoodie. It's fantastic quality and is perfect for work and outdoor activities. Also included is a picture of your number one canine, my dog, Shatri Sityat Tong.
Bro, look at that. He's got the MK sticker on the windshield.
Oh, that's pretty badass. And lastly are pictures of MK decals I made for my MK side-by-side. It gets used hard for work and play, so I'm going to have to make new stickers soon. Dude on the four-wheeler is my brother, who I'm helping build his dream home Airbnb in Colorado. Cheers. I always appreciate the content.
Colorado. That's God's country out there, man.
Yeah, man. Look at Sandine representing MK, Luke.
Yeah, good for him.
Definitely would have taken a ride on that train, as we know, but, you know, we can regret things, right?
Also, the pooch looks pretty happy. Well done.
Yeah, shout out to Shatri the dog. There you go right there, who tells the truth, unlike most Shatris, Luke. It's interesting. Our second one comes from Luke and Jay. It says, greetings, Luke, BC, and LIL from two washed English dads, Luke and Jay, on top of a Welsh mountain training for a 50-mile race here in November. Please don't ever pick us if you're going to visit donks in their natural environment, because LT will proceed to complain about the British food and subsequently obliterate the commode. Came for Luke, but I keep on coming for BC. And
there you go.
He spelled it the gross way, Luke. Wow.
Guy on the left kind of looks like Brendan Lynch.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Because he has jiu-jitsu like him. These are two Welsh dads, or English dads, sorry. Luke and Jay on a Welsh mountain. Well done, guys.
Well done, gentlemen. Thank you for your support. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, look at those tats on that guy's leg. He's wearing the BC Thriller.
Yeah, he's almost got a full sleeve on his leg there.
Yeah. You think he gets the ass cheeks done like Sean Brady in Your Dream?
To get the butt cheeks tattooed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's made its way up there yet, but, you know.
I mean, why not just get the whole shaft done, Luke, right? No.
BC, I don't think having a full piece that extends past your belt line as an arbitrary line and doesn't flow with the body is the best way to do that, but, you know.
All right.
There you go.
We have one from Lazy Bed here from Just Bleed Radio fame. He says, Brian, what about all those burgers you ate? What burger? He mumbles from behind his beef and cheddar. I give you Brian Campbell from an alternative timeline where rather than finding combat sports, he found a 30% off employee discount at Arby's. Wow, dude.
That is awesome. Holy shit. That is
Kid
amazing.
Rock? I mean,
I gotta tell you, though, do Arby's look like this these days?
I don't know, but I kind of look handsome in that like more white trash version of me.
I want to be clear. You do not look handsome. I want to be clear.
I kind of look like a rock star, right?
You kind of look like a roadie.
What burger? That's so good, Lazy Bed. Our fourth one comes from Evan. He says, do it for date. Watch out for turn 4. Or do it for Dale. Watch out for turn 4.
Where the fuck is my Uber driver taking me? I don't get it.
It's Dale Earnhardt on turn 4 at the 2001 Daytona 500.
My God. Are you kidding me? How did this one get? I mean, don't get me wrong. Listen, this is a place where we make fun of everybody, including ourselves. How did this one get past the North Korean censors? That is
wow.
Wow.
I will say,
I gotta tell you, I'm rarely shocked, but this one did it. This one did it.
We were on a text thread about this one, and it got approved by the censors. So.
Okay, North Korean censors. You know, sometimes I can predict them. Sometimes I can't.
Oh my God, that is so funny. That was Evan. Well done. Yes. Finally, we have a video from Jonas who says the best part of the CNN interview with Luke that the producers never had the guts to air.
Everyone needs to lick my balls. Everyone needs to lick my balls.
Yeah, that is so good. Wow.
Have you seen how they'll do this? Like, so for example, the Cowboys traded away Micah Parsons, right? It was a big trade. Someone will take this, whatever technology, I know it's AI, but I'm saying whatever the specific program is that they do this, and they'll write a script for Jerry Jones, And it'll be like Jerry Jones will be like, the Micah Parsons was a cancer in this locker room, and if anybody knows anything about Dallas, only I can be a cancer in the locker room. And he talks about like taking drugs and banging whores, and it's they put them out after every one of these like losses or big sporting events. They make me laugh, so of course this one made me laugh as well. That is very, very funny. Very
well done. Those are fan subs. You can get yours on the air. If they pass the censors by emailing us at morningcombat@gmail.com.
I can't tell you how many people email me being like, dude, why didn't you guys play my fan subs? And I'll be like, send it to me. And I'll be like, yeah, there's a good reason why we didn't do that. Yeah.
Well, we don't choose them. Mikey filters them with the staff, but we have seen the ones that haven't been approved, and they are out of control. They are really just wow. But any Cake Lady one, I'm going to pop for. When Luke and Cake Lady are married.
Fuck you. How about that?
Yeah, there you go. Long Island Luke, you got anything else to say today?
Yes, my episode of Prop Quiz dropping in 40 minutes with Oscar and Dennis, and I'll be live in about 24 hours for full card UFC Paris watch along. Join me.
All right. You got some fresh bud for that?
Hell yeah, you know it.
Okay.
You don't have fresh plans with your girl. I know that.
That's for the rest of the week, Luke. Come on.
Oh, okay.
Reminder that our September merch exclusives are out there on morningcombat.shop. Get your Black Liver Society t-shirt and hoodie from the great artist we know as Average Joe. Also, Cracker Barrel Luke on there with the MK logo. And you can get your autographed, until they last, Morning Combat TMNT posters. Also, we got evergreen items, mix and match your colors. It's all there for you at morningcombat.shop. The best way to support the show. All proceeds go to the three of us gentlemen right here. Luke Thomas, can you tell the people anything else about life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness?
Well, pursuit of happiness has been a lifelong struggle, BC, so I don't know how to answer that one. But what I can say is, if anyone knows what the fuck is wrong with my computer, where I have like a blazing internet connection, but it just drops the shit and I don't know what's happening, please email me, lukethomasnews@gmail.com. My laptop held up, BC. It held up. Hopefully everything holds up for tomorrow, because I'm going to go live at a bare minimum for the main and co-main, and I will be doing a post-fight show for UFC Paris as well tomorrow. So coverage for that. Stay tuned.
Follow us below, like and subscribe the video. This episode of Morning Combat has been brought to you, by the way, by DraftKings. And with DraftKings, the crown is yours. We will be back Monday in studio NYC with our boys Ken and Nadir. What else you got, Luke?
I bought I'll be riding the new Amtrak train on Monday.
Oh, the one with the giant bathroom. Yes.
The one with the giant bathroom, and I'm gonna.
Okay. All right. 11 a.m. Eastern, Morning Combat. We'll recap UFC Paris and continue to bang that drum for Canelo Crawford. We'll both be in Vegas next Friday, so we'll figure out how to do a live show together right there. If you're in Vegas, say hi to us, but only from a comfortable distance. For Luke Thomas, Luke Nocita, your boy BC, Zoe the cat, come have a moment with me, right?
Yeah, gonna be the first one on that euthanasia list.
Don't bite. Okay, I'll hold that. Okay, we're out of here.
That cat push on the face, that's when you know you're about to get fucking smacked,
Peace.
Everyone needs to lick my balls.